This week on Not Just Another Sex Podcast.
So if a person is new on their spiritual journey, they don't have any business working with Reiki masters, mushrooms, all of these things, because the purpose is for you to become the ayahuasca. The purpose is for you to become the mushrooms, the plant medicine, the healer. The purpose is for you to learn how to work with your own energy. So as opposed to booking these sessions and going to these places and allowing them to do all the work for you, maybe now it's time to inquire, how can I become my own therapist? How can I empower myself? And a lot of people are not steadfast and intentional in their healing experience because they don't really want to heal. They want other people and other modalities to do the healing for them. That is lazy, and you'll never heal if you are that lazy in your healing process.
Hey, sugar. I feel like there are so many different things that I need to learn as an adult. I'm this nasty on a regular day, like on a Tuesday. I am your host, Samaya Burton, and don't worry, it's not just another sex podcast. Welcome back to Not Just Another Sex Podcast. My name is Samaya, and thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. I'm so excited to get into today, but before we do that, let's make sure that we start off with a review. So this one says, I can be comfortable anywhere I am. Aaliyah. Samaya, thank you. Your efforts do not go unnoticed. Your vulnerability, your mission, your purpose, none of these things go unnoticed. Thank you for sharing your life with all of us and building a community for yourself. You allow so many others to feel seen. As someone who is also building my tribe, my community, and trying to connect with other spiritual people, Solos with Samaya number 8 really hit home. As a fellow aspiring entrepreneur, you living in your purpose also inspires me. I pray that you continue to have your needs met, that you never lose sight of what you're building, and that as time progresses, you are met with more blessings and ease. I received that. Thank you for all that you do and for many ways that you pour into your listeners and community. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for leaving a review. So under the YouTube, please leave comments, share this with someone, and leave a review because I get imposter syndrome as well. Or sometimes I need to hear that me sharing my business is doing something for someone, not just me up here telling all the tea. All of you guys that have left reviews, I appreciate you. Thank you for seeing me. Y'all know I love me some words of affirmation. So yeah, thank you so much. Today, I have such an amazing guest. I am so honored. I have Miss Candyss Love, the author of Remember Who the Fuck You Are, with us today. So say hey to the folks, Candyss.
Yes, hi y'all. How y'all doing?
Yeah. She got on her low sultry voice. All right, it's Candyss with 2 S's.
Yes, it's Candy with 2 S's at the end. Yep, Candy.
That sounds like your hubby little side girl. Is that Candy, his side girl?
Yeah, last night I was who? Tanya?
I know that's right. Cause baby,
Yeah, we
who you want me to be tonight?
Yeah.
Don't let me throw a little wig on here. Who you want, babe?
Listen, change up the fits and everything.
There's no spiritual lady in here tonight. Look here, I'm so excited to have you. I'm very grateful for you being here, grateful for alignment because we've been trying to do this for a while.
Yeah.
Look here.
And it happens when it's supposed to.
Every time. When people be like, hey, I can't, or I be like, I can't, I literally feel no way because I watch like how spirit shows up. There have been so many episodes that have been delayed. Those be the ones that go viral when they come out. And it's like, oh, dang, relax.
Yeah.
Relax. There's so many people that weren't able to come on the show only for me to find out that they weren't who I thought they were.
Yeah.
Let spirit protect me.
Yeah.
I'm getting
absolutely.
I'm getting used to that.
Yeah, I
So
love that.
yes, I'm very excited. All right, so you're gonna walk through today's show with me.
Okay.
Before we get into who you are, what you do, and all the things, especially with this amazing book, we're gonna open up with the adult tip of the day. Okay. So the adult tip of the day is the segment because we are now the adults in the room. I don't know about you guys, but like if somebody was to pass out in here, they start looking at y'all like, what do we do? Do you? I don't even be knowing what to do. Now I know you was in law enforcement, so she probably know what to do. But all of those things is our responsibility to take care of ourselves and drop the tips and finding out that getting the house cleaner is a cheat code or things like that. And so this is just a quick segment so that way if you do nothing else today, you adult it. You take one thing off your plate. So the adult tip of the day comes from an amazing woman. Her name is Candyss Love. And it says, sometimes pain helps us to meet deeper versions of ourselves that happiness doesn't have access to. And I love, spirit, I feel it. Oh, I feel it. I have fallen in love with my pain. At first, I used to sit in it in a victim way. But now it's just a relationship that I understand it's not going anywhere, but I can't act like it hasn't shaped me into who I am. I can't act like it hasn't created a deeper level of empathy within me. I can't act like it didn't activate a lot of my purpose. So I would love to hear more of your feedback on this statement that you gave.
Yeah, when it comes to feeling the emotional sensation of pain, it does feel like your body, like there is really a physical sensation, even though it is an emotional response. The body feels those aches. And so a lot of times people will want to run away from that or distract themselves from that or do whatever it is to compartmentalize that. And they don't really know, or they forget that the easiest way to get through it is to befriend it. And the more you attempt to run away from it, the more it attempts to run towards you to find you, because your healing, your lessons, your growth, your evolution is in that pain. Those gifts that you're looking for, those blessings that you're looking for are in the depths of that pain. But if you continue to run away from it, you'll never have the ability to really feel into what God, source, the universe, whatever word people like to use, is intending to help you evolve from. And when it comes to the actual quote, how pain has more access to the levels of healing than happiness does, because when the person is happy, they don't really have a reason. Like, if I'm happy, I'm not going to focus on pain. If I'm happy, I'm not going to focus on the things that I need to change. I get a lot of that when it comes to clients. They come to me when their world is in shambles. And I'm like, here's your homework. Do this. But when they feel good, it's like, what homework?
What homework?
And then
I don't need it today.
They come back when life puts them on their ass again.
Yeah.
Because happiness doesn't really give you the foundation or like the to say, let me focus on this. Pain is the one that sits you down and says, you don't have anywhere else to go. I need you to focus on this for your own benefit.
Absolutely. I feel like such a sadist sometimes. Sometimes the pain, I'm always excited because I know if it hurts, if tears are coming, there is something so beautiful about to happen. Yeah. It's like Big Daddy Saturn. That's what I tell folks. Like Saturn, it's Big Daddy Saturn. When Saturn come in teaching lessons and throwing blows, it's because your gift, your reward, your expansion is in that pain, like getting past that, walking through that. So I'm always excited now when I have difficult conversations. Where is it uncomfortable? Yeah. Because there's a level of pleasure that you can't reach if your body is protecting you from a certain level of pain. Yeah. And so you're trying to protect yourself from pain, and you're also keeping yourself from pleasure at the same time.
Yeah, but also you keeping yourself from pain and you're blocking your evolution. And people are thinking that when I block this, I'll be able to experience peace, because people are not truly experiencing peace. They think they are. There's no such thing as experiencing peace, and you have a past that has not been acknowledged. You have wounds that are still bleeding into your present reality. That's not really peace. It's escapism. And so if you really sit with your pain, it loses power. And now you can work with it. You can mold it. You can evolve with it as opposed to running from it.
Absolutely. You can use it. Use it, transmute it all. Yeah. But that's your adult tip of the day. Sometimes pain helps us to meet deeper versions of ourselves that happiness doesn't have access to. So thank you for that. This entire episode is curated around you, baby. You a star. A star. Yes. We are very intentional. This is my way of giving flowers to those who have really helped me become this person. This is the tools, you guys. Each episode, there is something that I got from the person. Something that is, y'all asking, how did you get here? These people that I'm talking to, the conversations that we're having, this is how I got here. This is how. There is no secret sauce. Like, this is it. These books, if they did something, I'm like, you need this. And so you're here. Yeah. All right. I'm not parenting today, y'all. I'm chilling, I promise. All right. So next we have Twitter Talk. Okay. Twitter Talk is a segment. It's supposed to be a little bit more controversial. I'll be trying to get hip with the kids, a little tea and stuff. It don't really be that controversial though, because I love deep conversations. But this one is to pay homage to the culture, because Twitter is Twitter, but there's Black Twitter. And Black Twitter show up in everything, no matter what happened, right? The sad shit be funny, the serious shit be crazy, but also you get, did you know, like the things that we discover on TikTok, on Instagram, all those things, Black Twitter became a thing, and I feel like it's just an expression of the culture. So, today's van life is about. Good Lord, see, I already gave it away. Today's Twitter talk is about van life and tiny homes. When I first found you, it was because you were transitioning out of your van. I was so excited to see another Black woman, another fine Black woman at that. You know the van aesthetic can look like, are you okay? Are you surviving? Or And I'm an aesthetic girly. I romanticize my life, and I saw that in you, just romanticizing and going through. And when I first found you, it was because van life was a thing I desired to do. Fast forward 2 years later, it's something that I was assigned to do. I didn't have a choice. And so my relationship with it changed, right? But at that time, you also were transitioning into meeting your love and writing your book. And so I love the introduction, but I noticed that when you and your love decided to create your forever home or your space, it's still a version of a tiny home. And so you guys do events there, and you have your upstairs loft, and it's so luxury minimalism. I love that. So I want to ask you, what are some things that tiny home, minimalism, van life have taught you that really have stayed with you all this time?
Yeah. So our regular house isn't a tiny home, but it still has the feel of minimalism.
Okay.
Which is what the van was. But in regards to what it taught me, when I speak about van life, I'm gonna be real. When I speak about van life, it's like, I'm so tired of talking about this goddamn van. Mm-hmm. And I think a reason why there's a part of me that pauses when I speak about it is because even though it looks extremely glamorous, and it is fun, there's moments where it's fun, my van life experience was during the pandemic, when everyone was away. Also, when I started my van life experience, my cousin was killed 2 months prior. So I didn't know that I was using my van as a huge form of escapism until I was at the Golden Gate Bridge crying 12 states later. Mm-hmm. And so what I recognize is my van was a vehicle to take me to deeper levels of myself that I was not conscious of. And so as beautiful as the experience is, it was the vehicle to help me identify grief. It was the vehicle to help me understand that I was really running from myself. And I love that people use van life to have a good time, because it has the underlayers of wherever you go, there you are. Right? So we can use our van. We can go to all these beautiful places. We can go to all these beautiful states, national parks. But it'll always come down to wherever you go, there you are. Meaning, wherever you go, you will always take the truth of who you are with you. And so because I'm like very firm and intentional when it comes to the healing process, I see my van as a therapy van. Mm-hmm. And I don't see it as fun. I see it as
work.
This is where it's time for me to, or the vehicle that is allowing me to go deeper within myself. So once I was able to find those layers of myself that I wasn't conscious of, that's when it was like, okay, now it's time for me to evolve into other parts of myself, welcoming in love. At the start of my van life journey, you can look at my YouTube videos where I was like, I don't want to be in a relationship. Don't ask. I'm good. I'm chilling. I'm traveling the world with my dog. I'm good. But you see that it highlighted parts of myself where I was closed off. I wasn't comfortable. I was 70 pounds overweight. And I was deeply depressed, and I wasn't even conscious of it. So then once I was conscious of those things, I can now welcome in the love of my life. And then I can now build a life that represents the vastness of my healing journey. So in our home is like 36-foot ceilings tall. And it really represents the light, the fullness of our life. Even when we were having our home built, there's like, I think we have about 20 windows, skylights, and it's just full of light and beauty. And the contractor, while I was designing it, he was like, why do you need so many windows?
I need the light.
Because it's the design is so abnormal. But I do need the light. My husband and I, we do need the light. When we're sitting in silence, what the van was for me was a vehicle of silence. When I was driving, I wasn't listening to music and podcasts. I'm driving, listening to my own thoughts, my internal dialogue. So now our house reflects all of the lessons that I learned while I was on the road.
I love that. And I know when I was talking to Candyss and I was like, hey, I really want to talk about this. She was like, girl, I don't want to talk about that. So we settled on it being an opener. I recently started vlogging. When I chose van life, it was the cute part, the aesthetic part. I love camping part. And not even for the aesthetic, but I love outside. But when it was time for me to live in it, it was because it was time for me to be alone. The name of the van vlog, and you guys can check it out below, is I Am Home. And it is exactly what you were describing. I wasn't sure if you were going to say the words because sometimes it happens like that. But that's what you were talking about. Wherever you go, there you are. I am home. And this journey of having to live in it has brought me, it's the solitude that I need as I come back home to myself. Thank you for clarifying that it's not a tiny home. And you guys have it like as more of an open space than rooms.
It is very much so an open space. So there's 3 rooms. And, it's built like a regular home, but it's my personal design. I sketched it. But the space is open because that's what makes us feel good. And you recognize when you have a lot of rooms in a lot of houses, there's different energies in those different rooms. There's different energies in different compartments under cabinets. That's why when you sage your house, you have to open the cabinets and sage under the cabinets, So we do our best to make sure everything is clean and clear and beautiful, because how your house is, how it looks, is a replication of how you feel on the inside.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for talking on that with me. But we have so many other things to talk about. That is why we are here today. So before we get into it, please introduce yourself to the following, who you are, what you do, and how you would like us to know you as we get through the episode.
All right, y'all. My name is Candyss Love. I am an intuitive guide, and that means that I help guide people through their emotional wounds, their emotional trauma. And ultimately, the intention is to teach people how to become their own healer and not to be reliant on any outside sources. That means learning how to become their own therapist, learning how to become their own healer, learning how to become their own guide. A lot of my clientele is regular people who have experienced emotional pain or emotional trauma, but I also work with therapists, psychiatrists, and psychologists. My background is prior military and prior police, so there is a level of intentionality and firmness that comes with my how I guide. I'm not gonna play with you,
Big Daddy Candyss.
Okay, I'm one of those people where when it comes to emotional healing on Instagram, it's like, oh my God, I'm been healing, I'm at peace, I'm outside grounding. I don't play those games.
I feel that.
I'm very intentional when it comes to healing because I take the process very serious. Like, I'm passionate about it. And so when a person comes to me, if they are not passionate about it, then they will receive how I guide them in a firm way. But if they're passionate about it, then it is the kickstart that they need to completely change their life.
Absolutely. And you have to be firm about healing. This shit ain't no hoe.
No, it's not.
It ain't no, the healing ain't no hoe.
It literally is designed to put you on your ass. And if you don't have a firm grounding on how you are going to evolve, you will continue to crumble underneath the pain. You'll continue to disempower yourself. You'll continue to get lost in that cycle of self-sabotaging behaviors and self-sabotaging wounds that you just continue to relive over and over again. And so how I guide people is designed to stop right here, right now. This is the end, and this is the beginning of moving forward into a new movement.
Absolutely. That is a perfect segue to the first thing I'd love to talk about.
Okay.
You asked, are you protecting your peace or are you avoiding accountability?
Yeah.
And I love that because a lot of times and we were just talking about this before, people think peace is removing yourself, but peace comes with you wherever you go if you have peace, right? And I believe that even in my healing journey, which we're always on, When I'm overwhelmed, I retreat, right? And so I have to call myself out on that and say, what did you give too much of? Why do you have to retreat? Because this is where you're supposed to be. So your peace ain't with you because you didn't bring it.
Yeah.
You know? So I would love to hear more about, are you protecting your peace, or are you avoiding accountability, and really making that distinguishing, giving them a think piece on distinguishing those. What is the difference between those two?
Yeah, so it's going to start with boundaries. But the misconception with boundaries is people think boundaries are meant for the other person, and they aren't. Mm-hmm. Boundaries are meant for you. Boundaries is how you decide how far am I willing to go. Boundaries are how you discern what am I willing to put up with, how far am I willing to be disempowered, how long am I willing to feel this sensation in my body without getting into a solution. So boundaries are not meant for other people. They are meant for you to discern what is good for you and what is detrimental to your evolution and your healing. And so every once in a while we will give a person a boundary, but that boundary has to first start with you. However, when it comes to protecting our peace, that is what people will think is a boundary. So they will detach and they'll say, oh, no, I can't deal with that. Mm-hmm. I'm protecting my peace, especially when it comes to accountability, because accountability does not feel good. Literally, the body is designed to keep us safe. So that means if there is ever an emotion that counteracts that safety or is dangerous to us feeling safety, the body will give us a wall, it'll give us a shield, it'll even help us put on armor to protect ourselves from whatever the emotion is. And typically when a person feels accountability, it comes with shame, guilt, embarrassment, not feeling worthy, not feeling good enough, feeling like a burden, feeling like they always mess up, like they're a F up, like they can never get it right. And it's difficult for people to feel like they're wrong and they don't have the capacity to shift the narrative that you aren't wrong, but there's something that you could have done better or differently. Absolutely. If you don't have the tools to sit with all of those things that can possibly surface when it's time for you to take accountability, you will completely push it to the side and say, no, I'm putting up a wall, I'm putting up a shield, and I'm putting on armor, but I'm going to label it as protecting my peace, which is a way that people manipulate themselves out of having to take accountability. So they are creating a narrative as if they are right, creating a narrative as if they are making the healthiest choice. I'm protecting my peace. I don't have to deal with this. But when they truly start to evolve, they recognize that there is never any peace when you are avoiding accountability. So that's where it comes from. That's where the question comes from. I just wanted people to have something to sit with and ponder on. Are you really protecting your peace? Or are you giving yourself the opportunity to run away from accountability? And typically they're running away from accountability.
Absolutely. And I don't think that ever goes away. You just get better. You get quicker at it. And so I think that, like, even for me, I like to go skating. I've been a beginner for about 4 years. I fall most of the time, but it gets me used to falling. I can't get better. Like, I might not be a professional skater, but you have to get used to messing up. If you're not messing up, you're not trying, which means you're not going to get to a solution. I think that when we talk about peace, a lot of people think that peace is not being bothered, when peace is actually one of the most disruptive feelings, because it's really governing how you perceive your reality. And I found that a lot of people's relationship with accountability has been rough. Your mom, your dad, your ex-partner that didn't like you or love you was talking to you crazy when it came to accountability. Not saying like, oh my gosh, I used to do this too, but this is what you did and I didn't like it. For me, accountability, I had to realize that if I want the love that I'm talking about, I have to find a better relationship with peace. Peace has to be there. Boundaries are meant to keep people in my life. Mm-hmm. But if I don't have them, I'm going to resent them. I'm going to push them away. But yet you're saying you want a man, you want a partner, you want love. Love is not peaceful. Healing is not peaceful. And these people are going to be who they are even when they get in a relationship with you. So if you can't handle the turmoil or keep your own peace and not pick up their problems when you're with them, how are you going to be ready for a relationship? That was a question I had to ask myself.
Yeah.
So am I stepping away every time my relationships feel a little rawr, you know what I mean? But the rawr means we're doing life together. We're being honest. They're giving me a boundary because they want to keep me here. Can I ground myself enough that I'm not triggered by what they're going through or what they need to walk through? You know, so
I think it's very important to identify what peace really means. So if you think peace means you frolicking on the beach, frolicking through tulips, having this beautiful unbothered life, like you are above what's the word I'm looking for? That you are above being penetrated with emotion that don't feel good, like you are above disturbance, then you're going to have a real rough time in any phase of your life, not just a relationship, in work, walking, being on the road with your parents, with your kids. You're going to have a real tough time. You're going to struggle if that's your idea of what peace is. And so I try to help people rephrase that idea of what peace is and shift it to harmony. Because when you are in harmony, you no longer need to control your way to peace. Needing to have peace is a way, like I'm a Libra, so that's balance, right? Mm-hmm. But even wanting and desiring the need to have balance is control. It's like telling God, no, I'm above disturbance. I'm going to stay here in a balanced place. But what if peace is not what is necessary to get you to the highest degree of your soul's evolution? What if disturbance is the key that you need to make sure that you evolve to the person and the being that you're supposed to be on a soul level? But you've just completely said, no, I don't want disturbance. I will only live my life for peace and in a peaceful manner. But then you see, just like the pain, sometimes peace doesn't have access to the levels of healing that you need. It doesn't have spaces it doesn't have access to those spaces. So when we come in contact with harmony, it means that I am in harmony and I am at peace with no matter what comes and no matter what goes. Even if there is an energetic or an emotional disturbance, I'm still at a place of peace because I'm in harmony. I'm allowing and I have the capacity to surrender to whatever I feel, whatever the situation is, whatever disturbance is present. I don't have to run from it. I don't have to try to fix it. I don't have to try to make it look or be a certain way because I'm at harmony with it. I'm grounded in it. I'm centered in it. And because you are centered in that real harmony, you're inevitably in balance and you're inevitably at peace. And you can remain calm in any situation because it's like, I welcome it. It doesn't have to look like what I think peace looks like. It doesn't have to feel like what I think peace feels like. It can be whatever it is, and I'm going to sit here composed or not composed and whatever is coming up for me.
These emotions, there are directional signs, you know. When I feel exhausted, it's telling me I need to rest. If I feel jealous, that means I need to go do something for myself, or it means I want some of that in my life. Yeah. If I feel resentful, it means I'm giving too much. I have crossed my own boundary. You talked about some relationships, especially parental ones, are cultivated best in spirit, not in person. So I would love for you to kind of go into detail about that.
Yeah. So what I recognize with a lot of my clients and people in general, they have very tough relationships with their parents. And this looks like not being parented the way that they wish that they would have, not being loved properly, not being nurtured properly, being abused, manipulated, taken advantage of. The list goes on to the many ways that parents have not shown up in the way that society kind of teaches us that they should, which is also a huge topic that we talk about in my book club, how society has programmed us to think that parents are supposed to be our protectors. Parents are supposed to be 100% present. They're supposed to be 100% nurturing. And I would argue that point because I haven't seen any proof that shows a consistency of parents actually showing up in that way. which tells me that that is not necessarily what parents are designed to do. That's not how they're designed to show up. That's how society has programmed us and taught us how perfectly parents are supposed to show up. And when parents don't show up in that way, we are now wounded because we have a embedded expectation that our parents are supposed to do this, they're supposed to say this, they're supposed to respond like this, and when they don't, trauma happens. So that is a different perspective that I haven't really heard anyone speak about. But when you start to speak about parental relationships on a soul level, every soul chooses who their parents are before they get here, which also means that your soul's contract is already outlined with what your wounds will be, what your traumas will be, how your parents will show up and how they will not show up, how this will affect you, how it will traumatize you. And you have a list of knowing what your soul is designed and dedicated to having to overcome as a human being so you can fulfill your soul's purpose.
Absolutely.
With that being said, as a human, we still have the expectations for our parents to show up a certain way. When we recognize that our parents do not have the capacity, as opposed to just sitting with our parents and saying, you did this to me, you wounded me in this way, you hurt me in this way, you abused, you manipulated, you speak to me in this way. At some point, we have to recognize they don't have the capacity to fully comprehend the depths of our wounds. They don't have the capacity to understand the psycho-spiritual wounding and how it has affected us on a soul level. So either you're going to do one or two things. You are going to give yourself permission to stop being disempowered and still looking for the validation for your parents to apologize, to acknowledge their behavior, and to change their behavior. And you're going to take your power back and start to look for ways to heal through that wound. Or you're still going to throw it in their face. I'm still wounded. What are you going to do? Your apology isn't good enough. I'm still wounded. I'm still in pain. Everything that you're doing to try to rectify the situation, it isn't good enough. And so you're going to have to make a very important decision, because once a parent does apologize, but that apology isn't good enough, now you've reached a level of saying, I want you to feel the way that you made me feel. Your apology isn't good enough. I want you to feel humiliated. I want you to feel pain. I want you to feel abuse. I want you to feel the same abandonment that you made me feel. And when we start to get to a place like that, you're going to have to start asking very intentional questions. How much has this wound corroded you as a human? How much has this wound deformed you as a human to the point that now an apology, accountability doesn't work? And so once you recognize that your parent does not have the capacity to see the depths of how their behavior has wounded you, you taking your power back may have to be in spirit. It may have to look like conversations using telepathy. It's one thing to be on Instagram and say, oh my gosh, I have all of these spiritual powers. And I have all... That's what they do. They get on Instagram and act like they got all these powers, but when they come to real life, they don't have any idea of how to actually use them, right? And so if you really embody the powers of your soul, if you truly are a reflection of God, then you have the capacity, one, to heal yourself, but two, you have the capacity to communicate without using words. Words can be so harmful, they can be counterproductive, and they can take up so much unnecessary space, and you'll never get any true healing from it. So if you're really embodying your power, why not hold these people accountable in spirit? Why not ask for the apologies in spirit? Because the human does not have the capacity. The soul is fully equipped. So your mom may not have the ability to say, I apologize for how I treated you and how I continue to treat you. But the soul knows, I have to treat you this way, because if I don't, you won't evolve to the person and the being that you're supposed to. The pain that is coming from your mom and your dad and how they have treated you, or their lack of parenting, is the vehicle that is driving you into your healing experience, which is also driving you into fulfilling your soul's purpose. So the mom and the dad, the parent, is not going to take accountability. They don't remember the soul contract.
Right.
So they're not going to say, oh my God, I can't believe I've treated you this way. But the soul says, I'm so sorry for this pain that I'm causing you, even though it is intentional, even though we both agreed to this soul level contract. But I do understand how it's making you feel. And I have to do this so it can continue to propel you into the evolution of your spirit. I had a very painful relationship with my dad's absence. And for a very long time, the vocabulary that I used was that he abandoned me. But as I continue to evolve and shift my understanding and shift my perspective, because we have a human understanding and then we have a soul level understanding. The human understanding will always be limited. It will always go back to the wounded, disempowered articulation of you hurt me and I need you to do something to fix it. Yeah. But the soul understanding is your hurt has purpose. My hurt has purpose. Your behaviors have purpose. And so with my dad, I had to shift my perspective. And I want to also preface that I had to arrive to this perspective. It wasn't overnight. It took years of me healing for this perspective to surface and come online for me. So there's a opening to my book where I thank my dad for his absence, where I thank him for having the courage to not be present. Because had he had been present, we don't get to have this conversation. And I don't get to have thousands of people messaging me for how the shift in my perspective, how it's helped them now work with the woundedness that they have with their parents. And so coming to the perspective of your absence is what I needed to evolve into the woman that I am, as opposed to you hurt me because you abandoned me. Those are two completely different sentiments. And one is disempowering, and it'll keep you in a disempowered state. Yeah. You'll continue losing your life force. You'll continue dying because you continue to use the vocabulary that takes away your soul's essence, as opposed to having the gratitude, the compassion, and the gratefulness of, if you had been present, I would have never evolved to the person that I am. So thank you for having the capacity and the wherewithal to stay away. Those are two completely different things, but I had to have that conversation with him in spirit. My dad passed away in 2016. I didn't come to that conclusion until maybe 2 years ago. It had to arrive and download and surface in my spirit. Mm-hmm. But when you have those conversations in spirit, you also give the opportunity for them to not interrupt your healing. Because if you try to have the conversations in person, you are going to revert back to your inner child, which means you are going to cower, you are going to shrink, or you are going to become aggressive. You're going to try to assert. You're going to try to assert your authority, and then they're either going to apologize or they're going to deflect, which is now going to wound you even more. So why continue to keep yourself in that space with a person who you are clear does not have the capacity? Now that is proof that it's time for the conversation to shift into spirit and no longer using words.
Absolutely. That's so beautiful. Mm-hmm. I love that you keep going to the places that I want you to, because I had the dad post in there. I did. I got the little Instagram link and all. I resonate with that so much. My dad is very much so alive, but I had to go through a grief of him not being alive in my life, because it was a pain I just wasn't able to handle. I had to handle this literally within spirit. First, it was physical. It was a lot of therapies, a lot of physical type of therapies. I did EMDR and hypnotherapy. I've tried shrooms and different things like that. And it's like you said, it's been a process. I had a point about codependent, like us being codependent on the reactions that we get from our loved ones and how they accept us and how they deal with apologies and different things like that. And I realized a lot of that I have to deal with myself on it first, because really it's not a conversation of me wanting something back from you. It's really me trying to have the conversations with myself to figure out what boundaries I really need to put in place with you for you to either be in my life or not. But I got to a point where I had to just thank my parents. I realized they don't have the tools. And I think that in your perspective about relationships cultivating in spirit, not in person, for me, another version of that was coming in contact with similar spirits of my parents. No other person can give you everything. You're just in their care. You're just in their care. And so my relationship with spiritual relationships is changing. I'm really looking for more information on that. And so it's been coming, but I know that I have to be even more devoted. And I try not to say discipline, because discipline isn't an issue for me. Being devoted is where I'm moving towards now. I've done discipline and it's done what it needed to do, but devoted it surpasses that for me. It's my relationship with making love to me through every facet of everything that I do. I'm working out because I love me. That's my girl. Let me work out and give her a little bit of oomph. Like, that's my girl, And how I'm eating is like, it's going to make me juicy. Like, and so just developing a better relationship with how I make love to me through all the things. I would love for that to segue us into the sex tip of the day.
Okay.
The sex tip of the day is to pay homage to my first business, Sexual Essentials. That business is really, it was my gateway to healing. It was where spirit could reach me. I was unreachable. Yeah. But through sex education, I felt so much comfort there. It was where my trauma was. And so I was able to swim in it and bask in it and be all comfortable. And, spirit gave me that propeller, and I appreciate that. Yeah. But I always pay homage to it. So today we are talking about abstaining, even within your marriage, and sometimes not going without, because I think that statement has like an energy to it, but practicing withholding in your marriage or in your relationships, and how enticing that can be, and how that plays into that sapiosexual energy, and letting like just energy cultivate through us without releasing it, and letting that be everlasting foreplay. So I would love to hear, because your love does go online, and he talks about sexual restraint.
Right, he talking about.
I just think it's so cute, because she literally was talking about, I don't want relationships and things like that. And I used to sound that way. So I love looking at seeing such an attractive, amazing woman find also an attractive, amazing man. I don't want him to be looking like the bottom of my shoe. I need him spiritually aligned and fine. I love the proof. The proof is in the post, okay? But I would love to hear you guys, hear you talk about that. I gotta have y'all on together.
For sure.
Yes, but I would love to hear any feedback that you're willing to share with us on that.
Yeah, so my husband and I have a very interesting start to our journey together. Mm-hmm. So my husband was a year celibate before meeting me, and I was 4 years before meeting him. So before we even spoke about wanting to be anything, which was actually never a conversation, it was more so of, I don't want a relationship. I ain't even interested in anything sexual. It was really a spiritual foundation for us. And so even now to this day, where we just had a 70-day sexual fast, and it's not even intentional, okay, we're going to fast from sex for 30 days.
Right.
It's nothing like that. It's like we listen to our intuition, and what source tells us it's time to rest in that area, then we rest in that area. And more than it being an opportunity to gather our sexual energies to come back and have this beautiful sexual experience, it really is about not having a distraction, so we can hear the guidance that source is really trying to allow to surface within us. Yeah. So it's a spiritual practice more than it is just to feel pleasure. And at the end, pleasure does come from it. And what I found is it gives us the opportunity to keep things fun and keep things extremely fresh. Like I said last night, my name was Tanya.
I know that's right.
Okay. Tanya has different outfits. I got different names for different outfits or whatever.
I feel that.
But we start as a very spiritual intention and whatever that guides us. Because when you constantly having sex, even if you are married, there are certain emotions you will not be able to feel. It becomes a numbing agent. It becomes a way to escape. It becomes a distraction. And you cannot hear source. You cannot hear the next steps. You cannot hear what is next for you in life if you are constantly receiving pleasure. Mm-hmm. It's about being still, even if uncomfortableness is present. And if there is a part of you that struggles with having abstinence for 5 days, 10 days, 50 or 70 days
from anything,
then this is a true indication that you don't have power or autonomy over your sexual experiences, your spirituality, or your life, or your body in this area. That means you are a slave to it. And so our spiritual practices are very intuitive. It just comes online like it's time. And my husband will also quickly say, I'm gonna give myself about 2 weeks. He's very open about the fact that this is how he deeply connects to God. And one of the things that we've always been very open about is our foundation is our relationship with God first. After that is our individual healing and spiritual experiences. After that is who we are as a couple. So before who we are as a marriage, our individual needs have to be met. Absolutely. And if abstaining is something that guides us closer to God, deeper to our soul's evolution, then that's the end of the conversation. There is no conversation to be had. But once we finish having our moment and it's like, okay, it's time, then we have our fun. We have a great time and we have a beautiful, very passionate and loving sex life. And I think sometimes the misconception is when you are abstaining, especially for the amount of time, sometimes my husband and I do it, that you don't have a fun, passionate sex life. And we are always like, only if they knew.
I feel that.
Only if they knew how much fun and vibrance comes from it.
I absolutely understand. It's so crazy because despite me teaching, math master classes and dick riding 101 and teaching women, masturbation 101, all the things, my personal sex life, it come with at least a 6 month. Yeah. I don't even know if I like you. And and that's not anything to do with you. This is what I realized for me. I'm a very excited person. I don't do anything unless I'm excited about it. Yeah. So if I know that I'm excited about everything, personally, I can't trust that because I know that I'm excited. Let me just have that. Now, after I'm done being excited and I've come down, how do I feel about you? Yeah. I'm grateful because I resonate with a lot of what you're saying and my beliefs. And so that, it still gives me, I'm open to whatever is for me in this lifetime. When it comes to partnership and love and what that's like with another person. But I realized there were so many things that I was leaning on. At first, I was leaning on alcohol. I was leaning on sex. These were things I had to deal with a little bit at a time. I'm almost 2 years sober, July 17th. So I'm really excited about that. Oh, y'all can see my business. Sorry, y'all. Whatever. Get these views. I'm almost 2 years sober, and I love what it's awakened in me. I love the fact that I don't need alcohol to be intimate. I love that I don't need alcohol to love myself, to sit with myself. I love what it's doing. And I love the confidence of a man that doesn't have to touch me. I love that because you're so damn confident that you know what I'm thinking and you won't do it. Look at you. Yeah. And I love that. I love it because it also helps you remember. So we have this challenge. It's an orgasm challenge on our Patreon. And it goes one of two ways. Whatever your thing is, do you need to orgasm for 30 days or do you need to not orgasm for 30 days? And so I tell people, take one challenge and then take it the other way. One, because sometimes we get so used to our orgasms that we haven't felt it bloom in a long time. It's just, oh, I'm getting in and I'm doing a job, right? And you don't even want that with your partner, so why are you doing it with yourself?
Yeah.
But also when you go without, on a sexual level, outside of spirituality, really, some of y'all get bored because you haven't, when the last time you fingered? Like, when is the, like, y'all not doing the same things? Like, do we have foreplay? What does it look like? Why are you going straight to the shaft when you with this man, sis? Like, he got all this. Do y'all, because they be talking about men not liking women. Sis, do you like men? Like, them shoulders, this, whatever this little thing is that y'all be working in the gym, keep doing that. Like, we love some of this. Like, all the things, like, I want to appreciate you. And I think being able to have the conversation in your relationship to say, hey, I'm not feeling so connected. Like, let's take a pause so we can remember some of these things, because I don't want to just do anything out of obligation. Like, intimacy out of obligation is why a lot of people feel a certain way. And that's not just men. Men have to learn about that very young, but a lot of women have not been told no. I always think that's a beautiful conversation, because it's so much beauty and it's so much foundation in creating friendship. Or for me right now, my thing is friendship. My spirituality is mine right now. And so I can't say I'm looking for spiritual community for sure. When it comes to partnership, right now I'm looking for friendship, because I don't know if I like you if I don't know if I like you.
Yeah.
I'm excited for where that goes.
Yeah. I think that's going to be really nice.
Yes. So, and then before we get up out of here, just like the adult tip of the day, I like to leave us with a spiritual tip of the day, because when you get into a certain journey, your vocabulary changes, and it happens so fast. You start saying things like your higher self and spirit, and I don't even know when it happened, but you realize that word choice matters. You do develop a new vocabulary. But when we don't take a moment to break some of these things down, to make it more digestible or meet people where they are, then people get left behind, and then they're only left with the ways that social media has misconstrued and taken advantage of such precious and amazing information. And so we try to bring one thing a day, whether it's a crystal or an astrology tip, Big Daddy Saturn, whatever. But I thought this would be a beautiful opening for you to share whatever it is that you like to desire around a ayahuasca ceremony. Did I say it right? I know I probably didn't spell it right, so don't look. But I said, so I had to go back to one of your posts, find the spelling. But what is an ayahuasca ceremony? We're not going to have her share where she found it or any of those things. We'll talk about that on a whole nother episode, because some of these things are guided to you. But I want you guys to understand what it is and what it did for you.
Yeah. I want to touch on first, before I get to the ayahuasca, what you said about the vocabulary. And what I think a lot of people don't fully comprehend is a lot of them don't heal because they don't have the proper vocabulary. And so even though, and me included, I make fun of people who get on Instagram and be like gaslighting and narcissist and all of these, new words that they're finding out on Instagram.
Yeah.
But there is a science to holy language, and there is a very important intentionality that comes with using holy language. And I fully believe that people do not heal because they don't have access to it, they don't practice it, they don't know how to speak it, and their vocabulary is limited. So when I have clients and I ask how something makes them feel, I can always know that they will say sad, angry, happy, or mad, right? If their vocabulary is a little extensive, they may say, I felt like a burden, right? They don't know how to say, I didn't feel validated. I didn't know how to say that I needed someone to witness me, someone to witness my experience. I didn't know that I needed someone to X this word out of communication when they speak to me, because that specific word is triggering. And I needed them to use this specific word because it makes me feel safe in my body. And so it's very important when people are using words like higher self. Those are very surface in comparison to the plethora of holy words and holy language that is necessary to fully see someone, to really communicate with someone, and to also communicate what you are experiencing and what you are feeling. I had a client recently who was like, okay, one of the things that really bothers me is when people are like, I just had a Reiki session and I have all these crystals and I use fire and I do burn sessions. All of that is cool. Even when we get to the ayahuasca, it's cool. It is a tool, and it is nothing more. Ayahuasca will not heal you.
Absolutely.
Crystals will not heal you. Reiki sessions, shamans, all of these things will not heal you. You have to have the tools to heal yourself. If you allow ayahuasca to heal you, or if you allow crystals or a Reiki master to heal you, then this is only a indication that you have given over your power and asked another thing to heal you, because you have disempowered yourself so much. And when you start to practice holy language, if you sit down with a dictionary and you eat words as if you are eating them for dinner before you go to bed, and you meditate on these words, and you sit with what is the vocabulary that I need to best communicate my wound? What is the vocabulary that I need to ask people when you speak to me? These are the words that make me feel safe in our communication. If you don't have access to the vocabulary, then you won't be able to heal, because you won't even be able to acknowledge that this is not you feeling away. This is neglect. This is not anger. This is grief. If you don't have the capacity to name it, the actual name, then you won't be able to heal and evolve from it. That's an issue that I see all the time. So you mentioned vocabulary. I just wanted to touch on it.
No, that's beautiful. That you had a beautiful way of saying it.
I want to invite people to really go out, get a dictionary, download the emotional wheel, because the emotional wheel has a lot of emotions on it that you aren't taught. We're taught happy, sad, angry, and mad. We aren't taught other emotions, and they are fully present. But if you can't name it, if your vocabulary is so limited, you'll never know what you really feel. And if you don't know what you feel, then you can't name it, you can't speak it, and you can't heal it.
There's a point before you go into this. I was wanting more. I knew there was more stuff, but I want to stumble upon it when it's going to be in alignment or make sense, or I'm going to get something from it when it's the right time. My relationship with meditating, it's grown as I've accepted it. So I'm grateful for that. We honestly can end it there, but since we opened up the floor, you are more than welcome to share about your ayahuasca journey, or other methods of just some things that you have tried. So whichever way you feel led to talk about it.
I think, so, I take my healing really seriously. So,
I feel that.
Oh, no, I just be feeling like somebody mama when it comes to talking about certain things with healing, like, don't do this.
I feel that.
I be so firm and steadfast, but when it comes to speaking about ayahuasca, plant medicines, and other modalities, I do my best to stress that they are tools. And what happens when you give your power away, you send the signals, the signs, and the messages to your cells and the DNA within your body and your spirit that everything outside of you is powerful and everything within you is powerless. So even in my book, before you get to the first chapter and the last chapter of the book, I tell them to put the book down and to remember that you are the book, to start writing your own book, to listen to what the soul is asking you to remember, to empower yourself. And so ayahuasca is beautiful, but it's a tool to help you remember. Everybody don't have the ability to remember because they're so distracted with outside things. So there's so many steps that a person has to take before they decide to give their power away to an outside source or to work with the powers of nature. And so I like to tell people, you don't need that yet. If you haven't mastered sitting in silence for at least 30 minutes to an hour a day, if you have not mastered going into meditation without it being guided meditation, if you have not mastered knowing what your triggers are, if you have not sat with the wounds and the trauma of your past and properly processed them, not this, oh, it just doesn't bother me anymore, so I'm not traumatized. That's not processing emotion. That's you compartmentalizing it so you can continue to live and survive. There's so many things that people need to do before they get to these other modalities, but what I've seen is the modalities become their God. And so they don't heal. They continue to be reliant on the modalities. So you will hear people say, oh, I just had a shroom experience. I know the type of experience you had based on the fact that you called it shrooms and you didn't call it plant medicine, right? There is an intentionality and a vocabulary that also comes with how you speak about how you are allowing the powers of nature to work in conjunction with you also using your own power. So if a person is new on their spiritual journey, they don't have no business working with ayahuasca. They don't have any business working with Reiki masters, mushrooms, all of these things, because the purpose is for you to become the ayahuasca. The purpose is for you to become the mushrooms, the plant medicine, the hypnotherapist, the Reiki master, the therapist, the healer. The purpose is for you to learn how to work with your own energy. So as opposed to booking these sessions and going to these places and allowing them to do all the work for you, maybe now it's time to inquire, how can I become my own therapist? How can I empower myself? What made you ask me these questions? Maybe you should go take classes on psychology. You got a computer in your pocket, right? Your phone is a computer. Everything you can Google. And a lot of people are not steadfast and intentional in their healing experience because they don't really want to heal. They want other people and other modalities to do the healing for them. That is lazy. And you'll never heal if you are that lazy in your healing process. So when it comes to ayahuasca, I do my best to not romanticize it. I'm even intentional about how I speak about it. You see, I'm speaking about it in a very firm manner because I need people to understand how serious it is. And what happens when you entertain these plant medicines like ayahuasca, mushrooms, or you give your power away to other people or modalities, and you are not prepared with what comes with it, you can do a lot of damage on your own psyche, your psycho-spiritual psyche, your soul. A lot of people don't even have access to their soul. A lot of people don't even have access with their spirit because they've disempowered themselves so much by telling the same traumatic sob story over and over again. In many religions and many modalities across like different indigenous people, they have a saying that if you tell the same story that has traumatized you more than 3 times, you don't have access with your spirit. That your spirit leaves the body with the story. And when you tell the story more than 3 times without the intention to properly heal it, you re-traumatize yourself. And the soul recognizes that this is not a safe vessel to live within. So the soul also detaches from the body. So imagine you not having access to your spirit.
Real people making real content.
Not having access to your spirit, not having access to your soul, but you're going to a Reiki master. What are they working on? An empty vessel. So you've given away your power, and to protect you, your spirit and your soul have also left your vessel. So when you're working with crystals, what are the crystals working with? They aren't working with spirit. They're working with the empty vessel. That's why people can easily call it rocks, because they don't have,
it's just a rock to them.
It's just a rock to them, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to these modalities, I say pause and work with what you actually have power in. Reclaim your power. Take your power back. You have access to sitting in silence. People don't want to do that because when you sit in silence, the truth of who you really are surfaces.
It get loud. It get loud
the truth
in there.
of what you really feel surfaces. But sit there. Start there. 5 minutes a day. 10 minutes a day. Not, and other people be like, well, I sit in silence all the time. I just wash dishes in silence. That's not what I said. Because when you washing dishes in silence, you also distracting yourself. I mean, sit there. No music. Just sit there. Just be still. Be mindful of what comes up. You can access the DMT release that comes from mushrooms, that comes from ayahuasca, with silence. You can access it with breath work. You don't even need to smoke. You can access those sensations of feeling high. I have a friend who says getting high off your own supply. because you can access those same DMT releases just with your breath alone. And that is proof that you don't need all of these outside things. You already are fully equipped with everything you need inside you, but it will require you to remember your power to access these things. And if you don't have the capacity, the intentionality, or the want or the desire to remember, you'll continue giving your power away. If you really, and if your intention is to really reclaim your power, sit with the power that you really have, which is the telepathy, communicating in spirit with the people that you need to make amends with, the people that owe you apologies. Sit with that first. Sit with the silence. Sit with the meditation. Sit with the breath work. Most people can't even remember their own traumatic experiences because the body has forced them to forget. They don't remember what happened to them when they were 4 years old because they don't have access to those memories. If you want access, you have to have a relationship with the body first, which means that you can only do that if that relationship has been cultivated in a silent and safe space. Is your internal world space? Is your internal world peaceful? And is it a safe space? We always are looking for safe spaces to go into, safe communities to go into. Is my therapist a safe space? Is my relationship, is my man a safe space? Are you a safe space? You'll never know if you are not sitting in silence long enough to feel into, is this a safe world that I go into all day, every day? So before we even get to the conversation of ayahuasca, I need a person to at least practice becoming their own ayahuasca.
That's so beautiful. I got so much from this interview, and I wanted nothing. I didn't. I just wanted to give you your flowers.
Thank you.
Let you know you are here. But in that, I receive such a gift when I'm in this space and I'm listening and I'm learning and I'm being a vessel for the conversations that Spirit wants me to have for the people that are supposed to receive it. And you're talking about things and I feel those things. And I know that there are certain things that I'm a baby to, and being able to sit with those that I look up to that can give me the message that I need, that the fact that so much is resonated with I Am Home. So much of what we talked about is about me vlogging. I'm so excited about it because I Am Home is a message that I really had to learn. Thinking that someone could mother me, thinking that someone can give me something. I'm so excited for the conversation that you gave, hitting on things I needed and so much. I'm happy when it aligns. I'm happy that you weren't able to come last year. I'm so happy for that. And, I feel so honored that your energy led you here because you are home. And if you weren't supposed to be here, you would have been like, you know what, shawty, I'm good. I think it's okay. So I love that. And I love you. And so please tell the folks where they can buy your book. Yes. Remember who the fuck you are. Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely. So you can purchase my book, Remember Who the Fuck You Are, at CandyssLove.com. That's CANDYSS love.com. Also, my Instagram at candice.love. Also, I have a skincare line, Sasha Flowers Intentional Skincare. What else? If you are one of those people who are looking for guidance, but more so counsel, I don't give advice. If you are also looking to have guidance on how to become your own healer, you can also book a one-on-one session with me as well on my website or on my Instagram. What else, babe? What else do I have going on? Okay.
We drop all the links below. So all of those things that she mentioned will be below in the caption and descriptions and all those things.
Yeah, and also my YouTube, Candice Love on YouTube. So the van life experience from the setup, all of that is on there. And then it evolves into my relationship with my husband. It also evolves it evolves into our podcast, Remembering Me, a soul healing podcast where we speak about all of these things, relationships, spirituality, emotional healing, trauma, money, abundance, entrepreneurship. We speak about all of that on our podcast. So it's recorded for Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, as well as YouTube. So people can check it out there as well.
Okay. We'll make sure we grab your link tree so we don't overwhelm the folks, but we'll put your
sure.
book by itself so that way they can grab that. Look, you guys, I am very serious about supporting authors. My girl came to here and signed my book and put it in the library. But that is one way that you're pouring into your spiritual community, the creatives. It's residual. She wrote the book. It's already done. If you do nothing else, support an author, buy their book. Okay. And I love how thick it is.
Yes.
That thing.
My book is 2
thick.
books in one. Even when it was time for me to have it edited, they were like, this is 2 books. So a lot of my book is, you know, you can tell that I was emotional when I wrote certain things because there may be an error in grammar, right? I kept all of that in there because I wanted to be extremely real and authentic. But my book is 2 books in one, and I kept all 400 pages. There's at least 200 journal prompts at the end. There's also ceremonies on how to reclaim a relationship with yourself. There's ceremonies on how to properly apologize to your inner child for the part you played in your own suffering. There's also ceremonies on how to give yourself grace for the part you played when you didn't know any better, right? Or when you did know better. There's journal prompts for addiction. There's journal prompts for shame, sexual abuse, anything you can think of. There's work that has to be done at the end. There's work that has to be done at the beginning before you even start the book. So that just gives people an opportunity to know that I'm learning all this information, but I also need help on implementing it. So there's steps so they can implement the work as well.
I have a beautiful relationship with discipline, so I love that. I'm always reminded that you wrote your book in a month. And I'm always reminded that everything can change in a day.
Yeah.
And
what about that is making you tear up? This is your second time tearing up since we've been speaking.
Because only you know the messages you've been given, and I'm going through the process of being prepared to give my offering, and that I know that when it's time, it will be time. When I do the things that Spirit is asking me to do, those are nothing but self-care things. Spirit just needs you to not be busy so it can reach you.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything but take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And I love when I do it, because the times that I have to stand on, like, no, this is how we have to do this.
Yeah.
Nobody else in the room gets it.
Yeah.
Because the message meant for me, only I can get that. But I'm reminded that when I listen, I get exactly what I need. And I don't have to worry about it being too late. I don't have to worry about time, because I can do all the things and that shit can come to me in a month.
Period.
And I've seen it. I watch what happens when I meditate, when I don't care anymore. I am that disciplined person. I am that, oh, well, thank you, sugar face. I am that person. But the validation is something that I've not necessarily needed from everybody else, but the attention, some attention on my story from somebody who's going through, who has went through that thing. I love the proof. I love the proof. I'm so proud of myself for ending up here to get what I need, for listening to get what I need. It wasn't perfect today, and we did it anyway. Yeah. And I got everything that I needed. Yeah. And so I'm just reminded that I have, damn, we just fucking up around you. Real people making real content. I'm just so inspired. I'm so ready for what, is meant for me. And, Yeah.
And in divine alignment, that's when it happens.
I'm squeezing the hell out of your little
hand.
Okay.
It's okay.
But yes, so thank you so much, you guys, for tuning in. Thank you guys for listening. I love you. I appreciate you. Please check out my girl. We will definitely have her and her love back. I'm putting it out there because we got to get into Tanya and the things. So all the things. So I love you guys. I appreciate you. Check the links below. Check out I Am Home, the vlog show that is officially out. And until next time. Yeah.